Okay, I'm Shelby Goodlad, and today I'm going to teach how to use manipulatives to figure out the answers to a tangle table. And a tangle table is a unique method of practicing multiples and multiplication as well as division for the students. This can be used for kindergarten or for 3rd to 5th grade because that's when you're really starting to learn those multiplication tables. In this tangle table, we're going to use multiples of 1 through 7, and when we figure out the answers, 1 through 7 will be placed in these columns and rows right here. These squares right here show the answers to the problems that we'll be figuring out. This method, when you use manipulatives, you can show not only equal groups, but within equal groups you can show partitive division in order to help the students understand why multiplication and division works. First, since this is going to be a technique, the way I'm doing it for the 3rd grade level, we're going to divide it into number of parts per group and number of groups so that it's easier to explain to the students. First, I'm going to do the number right here since this is the easiest problem on the board. The answer is 1, so we're trying to figure out how many groups and how many parts per group. If you multiply those together, you'll get 1. If you take out one piece, because you know there's number of parts is going to be 1, you see that there's only one group. So you know that the answer is 1 part of 1 group equals 1. So you'll take the pieces that you created and put them on top of the squares right here. So 1 times 1 equals 1. The next problem I can do, because I have figured out what this answer is I can take the answer 4 and try and figure out how many groups of 1 will I need to get 4. So I take 4 pieces and I make as many groups as I can with 1 piece each. After I've done that, I notice that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. So I know 4 groups of 1 equals 4. So I can put that number here. Also, you have to be able to multiply the other way, figuring out how many parts per group if you know the number of groups. So what you're going to do is right here, for example, you've got 1 group, and you know that your total is going to be 6. So you have to figure out how many parts are going to be in that 1 group to make the answer 6. So you get 6 pieces because you know that's your total, and you divide them into 1 group. Now that they're in 1 group, you count how many pieces are in that group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you know that 6 parts of 1 group will equal 6. So you take your 6 and put it here for 6 parts. Now that we have this number figured out, we can do one of the harder problems, trying to figure out 36 and trying to figure out how many groups there will be if the total is 36 and there are 6 parts per group. First, you take 36 pieces like this, and if there are 6 parts per group, you make as many groups as you can of 6. So you divide them like this. That's 1 group. 2. And if you line them up, it might be easier for the students to understand how they are a group. 3. 4. 5. Okay, now that you've got all your pieces lined up, you count the number of groups with 6 in each group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you know that 6 groups of 6 equals 36. So you'll take your 6 and you'll put it up here. One more problem we're going to do before I show another part of the tangle table that's really important is we're going to try and figure out how many parts per group there will be if there's 6 group and 12 total. I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. Again, like I said before, you're supposed to take this number and a number from this column, and you find the corresponding number. This kind of helps with graphing as well, because that's how you determine points on a graph. So this technique can also be used in other parts of mathematics. What you do is you look at that 12, and you take 12 pieces, like this, and you know that there are 6 groups, and you're trying to determine how many parts per group there are. So just take them and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 groups, but you still have pieces left over, so you're trying to determine the number in the groups using the rest of the pieces. This is kind of like division because you're dividing 12 into 6 groups. After you've done this, there are no remainders because it goes in evenly, so you count the number of parts in the group. It's 2. So what you'll do is you'll take your 2 and put it here because 6 groups of 2 parts equals 12. Now that in some of the columns you have a number in each part of the column and row, but you have a blank space in the answer part of the grid, you can use the same method to figure out the answers to some of the problems as opposed to just part of the question. So what you're going to do, for example, is you can use 2 times 4 to determine what this answer right here is. What you're going to do is you're going to see that its number of parts per group is 2, and the number of groups is 4. So you're going to make 4 groups of 2. Because my problem was already kind of laid out that way, I can just scoot those 2 aside, and I have 4 groups of 1, 2 in each. Then you simply just count the number of pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you know that the answer for this part of the problem is 8. If this problem is too simple for some students, then you can easily change it so that the students have to create their own tangle table and use the manipulatives to solve it to see if it works. After solving this problem, the answers are all going to be filled in the table like this, and students will be able to recognize all the different answers and notice that 5 times 7 is 35, as well as 7 times 5 is 35, for example. Thank you.